The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion. And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Got to turn myself on. Am I Joey Mack? I am not Joey Mack. Don't even look like Joey Mack. I'm his grandfather. No, it's like this is Terry Johns in for Joey Mack, who's with basketball down in Los Angeles. Coming up tonight, big game, number 3, UCLA down at Pauley Pavilion, and then Saturday they move over to take on number 5, the LA trip in the men's side. Yeah, that's the tough trip this year as they take on USC Saturday. Saturday night, I think that one's at 8 o'clock tonight at 6:30 on ESPN. And, yeah, some tough ones. But they're playing better. 4 out of their last 5 they've won. And we'll hear from Kevin McKenna coming up later, assistant coach. We had him on Tip-Off Tuesday. Joey Max sat down with him, and he'll break down the games for you a little bit here coming up later. Track and field in action, by the way, first women's basketball on Saturday, 2:30 against Arizona. Number 7, Arizona. Number 10, UConn on Monday. 2:30 Saturday against Arizona, 2 o'clock on Monday. And I guess it got moved up. I'm not sure. I saw somebody say replies on Twitter that it was originally scheduled for 8, and I didn't know that. When I started looking at the schedule, it was at 2 o'clock, and asked why. Well, it's all about, it's on ESPN, so they tell you when they're going to air it, and that's when you play the game. That's how that works. It's pretty cut and dried there. But track and field, saw on Twitter, track and field Twitter, that they're getting on the plane, heading over to Spokane, the Cougar Classic, indoor track and field. And, yeah, that's great. And men's and women's tennis back in action this weekend. A lot of things kicking in as start getting closer into February. Softball will get going. Baseball in later in February will get going. We're going to have all kinds of things going on. Even more than there already is. Coming up today, a very special day as we celebrate the 50th anniversary coming up of Title IX, and Women in Flight is going to be part of that. They're having a year-long campaign. In fact, those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube, you could see the new logo for Women in Flight. Doesn't that look pretty good? I like that. And a year-long campaign launches today. Women in Flight Director Alexis Cross, Joey Mack has a great interview with her that's coming up here shortly. But she'll tell all the details about the campaign, the importance of Title IX, what Women in Flight has in store for the future. Plus, as we said, we'll have Kevin McKenna to preview the UCLA game coming up tonight. But Women in Flight, I had a lot of interviews, especially was on a lot of radio interviews, especially when Sabrina, Ruthie, Sautu, when that team was rock stars. Everybody knew about the Oregon Ducks. And almost every time I was asked, why is women's basketball becoming so popular? And I talked about Title IX, that just like when John Wooden was at UCLA was winning the titles, national titles, year after year after year. And it took a while for Women in Flight in the early 70s to come into fruition, for little girls to want to be Sabrina, want to be Diana Taurasi, to want, all of that. And it just took a few years for that to all kind of come to fruition. And then we're here. Now, it's taken 50 years, but it took a while, 50 years now. But a couple of years ago, you could already see the growth, couldn't you? And it's just going to keep growing more and more and more. But Women in Flight, 50 years with Title IX. And Title IX with it's called Go Do Anything campaign. And I have 4 daughters. I have told them from almost birth when they could understand me, you can be anything you want. You can do anything. And they would always look at me, even when they started to understand, like, really? I said, yes, you can be anything. One of my daughters, I remember, asked me, could I be president? I said, yes. Absolutely. Why not? So you can be anything. That's what Title IX is all about. June 23rd, 2022 will mark the 50th year anniversary of Congress passing Title IX and thereby prohibiting gender-based discrimination in education and athletics. And to celebrate this important milestone, Women in Flight and Oregon Athletics proud to announce a year-long Title IX 50th anniversary campaign with the words, "Go do anything." We aim to encourage women everywhere to chase their dreams. As established leaders in the support of women's collegiate athletics, we invite you to join us on this journey to honor our past, inspire the future, and take the women of Oregon to all new heights. And throughout the year, bringing Women in Flight community together to teach about Title IX, share inspiring stories. Man, there are a ton. And I've been privileged to see many of them doing women's basketball for 17 years and show that, or what Go Do Anything looks like in action. So mark your calendars, February 13th, 2022. So February 13th coming up, the Oregon State women's basketball game at Matthew Knight Arena. And that's going to be a big Women in Flight and Title IX celebration. And that's perfect. Perfect to have Oregon State in on that too, as our in-state rival. And from sharing your own inspiring stories to cheering on Oregon female student athletes or make it a gift to help us reach our goal, we invite you to join our celebration and support however you choose. I think I've told you enough, kind of teased you a little bit. We're going to take a break and have Joey's interview with Alexis Cross, the director of Women in Flight. And we'll do that next. Here is we're in the Country Financial Studio. Terry in for Joey. He's on the road with basketball, men's basketball down in Los Angeles. We'll be back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece. And it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Duck Insider here on a Thursday. Men's basketball coming up tonight, 6:30, 6 o'clock pregame show with Joey Mack around the Oregon Sports Network. All right, we told you about Women in Flight and a Title IX celebration. It is going to be great. It is going to be great. And Joey Mack sat down with the director of Women in Flight, Alexis Cross. Let's hear it.
This is an awesome day for University of Oregon. It's an awesome day for Women in Flight, and we're going to learn all about it with the director of Women in Flight, Alexis Cross. Hey, thanks for being back in the studio. 1, it is great to have you in person in the studio. 2, we have an awesome logo to talk about. We have an awesome announcement to talk about. We have a lot of things to discuss. How are you?
Joey, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back.
You bet.
It's been forever. We talked about that.
It has been forever.
Yeah.
At least forever in the studio. Like, it's probably been a year and a half, 2 years at least since you've been in the studio.
Yes. Feels like a time warp.
Well, then this is a good thing that we had a reason today to have you back in the studio. Okay, so big announcement. You just heard about it. Terry John's talking about it. Tell us the details. What do fans need to know?
Well, we're super excited to announce that the University of Oregon, the Oregon Athletic Department, Women in Flight, our entire college campus is announcing that we are doing a campaign in honor of the 50th anniversary of Title IX. This campaign is something that is collectively representing a lot of corners of our university, a lot of the work that we have done to support women's athletics at the University of Oregon. And we are talking to anyone that encourages young women to go do anything. That's the slogan for this campaign, and it's a really fun message, I think, that we're excited to tell in a lot of different ways.
Well, I mean, I love it. So, first of all, I think for those of you that don't know Alexis Cross, she was a student athlete here at Oregon, grew up in Eugene, so this has always been near and dear to your heart. And now you're the director of Women in Flight and talking with so many, frankly, movers and shakers.
Movers and shakers.
Yeah, that have been big supporters of the University of Oregon and particularly women's athletics. With all that in mind, why is this so exciting to launch into this big campaign?
Joe, you mentioned movers and shakers. Like, we get to have such an amazing, broad-based group of supporters for this program at Women in Flight, for our women's teams, and we have seen that carry our programs to a really high level, and that's on and off the court. Women in Flight focuses on the development of female student athletes as human beings, as people, as future leaders, and current leaders in the situations that they're in right now. So our funds support everything from foreign tours that our teams go on. I'm sure many of you have seen volleyball went to Europe, and basketball has been to Spain. Soccer's been to China. All of that, none of that would happen without Women in Flight and philanthropic support. Team building was a huge foundational goal and commitment of this program. Each team gets a certain allotment of funds every year to use for team building, and that team building alone, which is something super special and really unique to our university.
Why is that, you think? Why is it so unique to Oregon?
You know, I think it's becoming less unique, which is really exciting. We speak with schools all the time about what we're doing, but I think it was truly innovative leadership that allowed for this program to be founded with the support of amazing donors that have built a community. Like I said, this program is based on broad-based grassroots support of a bunch of people that really relate to the mission of what we're trying to do. And because we have that, it has just continued to build on itself and now brings us to this amazing announcement today that is the next phase of Women in Flight, the next level of support for women's athletics, and really the new standard for how we should be supporting women athletes.
Well, give us a little bit more of the detail, right? I mean, so we've been talking about this, and it's in celebration of something that's pretty darn cool, which is Title IX. The 50th anniversary is June 23rd, 2022. If you're not familiar with Title IX, it's truly a groundbreaking moment, particularly in athletics, but it goes beyond that in education. This is really an education initiative. U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights is the one that initially wrote it. It was in 1972. You can't have any discrimination based on sex in programs or activities that receive federal financial assistance. There's your definition of what Title IX does, right? But
boom.
But in athletics, what that meant is I think that it was a big boom for the growth of women's athletics in general. And I think that it really is a historic moment to think about. So I ask you, I say all this because I'm going to ask you, okay, the details of this program and why it's important. What are you guys hoping to accomplish? Like you said, this is the next evolution of Women in Flight. So what is that evolution? Tell us about that.
It's kind of a two-parter. There is, on one side, the funding aspect. We have really big goals. We have really exciting priorities. Some of that includes technology. There's a huge focus in athletics right now for technology being a part of your training, your conditioning, every element of what we're doing so that we can do that safely and we can do it at the highest level. Technology is one element of what these funds will continue to elevate at the University of Oregon. Another is endowing a piece of this program. Can we make sure that this is around forever for our female student athletes? And can we do that in a strategic way that provides a lasting impact? Those are just 2 of like the 10 that we have as a part of this campaign, but I will say like all of them are incredibly strategic from a funding perspective about how we can create lasting impact. The next kind of side of the coin, I guess you could say, about this campaign is really fun, and it's really available to everyone, and it's this notion of community around women's athletics and support, whether that's butts and seats or philanthropic donations or event attendance, or totally separate from the University of Oregon, looking at the young women in your life and telling them to go do anything. There's so many stories to tell that is a part of what we're doing, and there are so many ways for people to be involved, whether that's directly with the University of Oregon or in their own lives.
GoDucks.com/Title IX for more info. And you mentioned there's pillars of this, right? And so you can learn about all of that. And
yes.
It's Title IX, like with the Roman numerals, for those of you that are writing things down. GoDucks.com/Title IX, like IX, Roman numeral style. Alexis Cross, Director of Women in Flight, is joining us. One thing that I love about this that you touched on there a little bit is that it goes beyond sports.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes beyond sports here at the University of Oregon.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just in the community. You've worked with a ton of different folks around the University of Oregon on this.
We have, and we are so thankful for those partnerships. We are telling stories of women in the law school, women involved in the night campus. Our female scientists will be with us as guest coaches for some of our games. We're telling stories about women in the education school, and the University of Oregon has a lot of great stories to tell in all areas. So we want to use the platform of Women in Flight and our athletic department in order to do that. And then we want to use the platform of Women in Flight and the funding and structure that we have in place as a vehicle to support that mission.
I think that's awesome. I have to ask you about the logo, because there's a story. So those of you that are watching this interview with Alexis Cross, you can see the logo that's celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX and what all of this means. Tell us about the logo, because it's got a history to it.
It does have a little history. We reached out to our wonderful friend of the athletic department, Tinker Hatfield, who has been amazing in all the work that he's done for Oregon athletics in a big way, and he was really excited to help us with this logo that will represent this campaign. It will be seen on all of our female student athletes throughout the year, and it's special and it's fun, and I kind of think it even looks a little bit like the Jordan logo, but like the female version, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So I think we'll see this pop up in different areas, and it's fun to have a very signature mark that represents a very signature thing that we're doing.
So if I could, graphic design nerds, join me. It's got the IX, the 9 in Roman numerals at the bottom. You can see the O silhouetted in the background with the, can you call it the jump woman? I mean, that's kind of what it looks like, right?
I don't see why not.
And then it's got the Women in Flight wings.
Yep.
That are very similar on the side. So I love it. So that's what you'll see. That gives you some context when you're seeing those, well, I guess uniforms around is really what they are going to be, right?
Yeah.
All the student athletes.
Yeah, shooting shirts.
Shooting shirts are uniforms.
Yeah, they are.
It's part of it.
They are.
Is that a uniform? Like you're wearing an Oregon Women in Flight shirt. That's kind of like a uniform.
This is totally my uniform. I wear this every single day.
That's right. See, it makes sense.
All right, there you go. That is part one of our Women in Flight and 50th anniversary celebration of Title IX with Joey Mack and Lex. I call her Lexi. I guess Alexis. It's Alexis Cross, but I call her Lex. And went to Marist High School, by the way, and has done great things. Was in acro and tumbling, and doing great things with Women in Flight. She's got a great personality, delightful spirit, and doing a great job. We have part two, though, coming up here on Duck Insider. Terry in for Joey here in the Country Financial Studios. We'll be back with part two of that interview after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Terry Johns for Joey. Has Joey down with men's basketball in Los Angeles, UCLA tonight, 6:30, 6 o'clock pregame show on the Oregon Sports Network. Let's continue with his interview with Director of Women in Flight, Alexis Cross.
Alexis Cross, Director of Women in Flight, joining us. You know, I want to kind of take the bigger picture approach with you here because this is an awesome campaign. We've talked about the funding goals, what it will support, but give us kind of the update on Women in Flight. Like you mentioned that this is the next evolution of Women in Flight, but it's been a while since I've had you on the show, so I'd like to kind of go back and tell us about where Women in Flight's been and maybe remind people about the growth of Women in Flight because it's been significant around not just Oregon but the country. It
really has. First, here at the University of Oregon, we have seen steady growth and steady support since the launch of our program in 2014. And I want to note, Joey, this is not, the launch of our program in 2014 was not the start of Oregon supporting women's athletics. We did an event back in 2011 that was dedicated to awarding letters to all of our female student athletes who played before letters were a thing for women. And I think that's a testament to Rob Mullen's leadership that this is a priority of the department and has been for a long time. But Women in Flight on the national scale, we have had the privilege of speaking with upwards of, in COVID, we found a way to communicate that was more effective, I think, than a lot of what we did before. So in the past year and a half, have spoken with upwards of 75 institutions across the country, hosted a webinar, did a lot of educating for other schools about how they can build sustainable programs like what we have here. And a really cool example is about a year ago, we chatted with UCLA. And there's not any other schools in the Pac-12. Well, there are a couple that have kind of versions of this program. But UCLA this week just launched a campaign and a full-fledged Women in Flight program with a different name called Women of Westwood. But
I see a similarity there, though. Right?
Yep,
I see a similarity.
Yeah. But it was really cool to see that come full circle, that we are able to provide resources and institutional knowledge that helps other schools do this same sort of deal in their own way.
The movers and shakers behind it at Oregon. I think of some of the founding members of Women in Flight. I think that it's important to note that we could unfurl a scroll of all the names
we really could,
that you could read. So I think it's unfair for me to ask you who are the big ones, right? But at the end of the day, because that scroll is now so long, let me just say I think that's a testament to you, the rest of your team, in making this grow because there are so many passionate people, about this. And that's, I think, maybe what I don't know if discovered is the right word, but that's what maybe we've prioritized with Women in Flight, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned those movers and shakers in a way that is exactly how we have approached this campaign. It's broad. We want everyone to be a part of that, whether that's dollar value from hitting the mic around, from 5 to 5 million or whatever it may be. That's one area of it, but we've actually kind of developed 3, I guess you could say, personas or voices that we're speaking to and speaking from this campaign. And Joey, those are the trailblazers, the reformers, and the believers. And if there's 3 words we think that collectively represent different facets of people who have been so ingrained in this program, whether that's people who work here, people who sit in the stands, people who've been to every single event we've ever done, those words are something that I think identifies that group, and it certainly is a tote to just the incredible group of people that they are.
Telling these stories, you and I were talking before we got going here that we've told some great ones, but we know there's more out there, and you guys have a way to sort of catch some of those stories now.
We do. There's a stories section on our website that has gone live today, and at the bottom there's an opportunity for people to submit those stories, whether that person that they feel should deserve some recognition has ties to the University of Oregon or not. We believe that this platform should recognize incredible women and even incredible men that have done amazing things to support women. Those are stories we want to tell. You'll see them kind of continuously pop up throughout the campaign, and we're excited to hopefully unlock some really cool ones that we don't know about, and want to make sure have some light shed on them.
You might see some of them on Duck Insider, full disclosure, shameless plug. You might see some of them show up in the form of interviews on this program. So Women in Flight, big announcement today if you're just joining us. June 23rd, 2022 is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. So this is a large campaign that's going to help support more than student athletes, but women in general to go do anything. So I'll ask you for the details to kind of recap here in a moment, but I do want to ask you on a personal level. This is clearly more than a job for you. I think anybody who's ever heard Alexis speak, who's ever heard anybody around this program speak about the importance of it, we can feel it, right? Like, this is a passion project, I think, for you. Where did that passion come from? Like, growing up, I don't know, like, where did that passion come from for you? And how much does this mean to you now to sort of launch this next chapter?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I started brainstorming about this campaign probably a year and a half ago, and felt pretty ahead of the curve in just the conversations that we were having. And I actually was on a walk with my mom, and I was talking to her about this idea and whether or not we felt like we could happen and make it happen, and also whether or not she felt like we could reach the goals that we were talking about. And she looked at me and she said, I just want... She knows, she has a great understanding of Women in Flight and what it does. And she's like, I think there's so many people out there, and I hope that it is everyone out there that looks at the young women they know and tells them to go do anything. So, full disclosure, my mom was the one who came up with the slogan for this campaign, and I think that's where it comes from for me, Joey. I had family and supportive people in my life that always told me that, and whether it was that verbatim or not, I think I felt that, whether that was in athletics, similar to Title IX, athletics, academics, whatever it may be. And then beyond that, like, they were there to support me wherever the shortfalls were. And so I think that's personally where that comes from. And then on a broader scale, like, I know that, like you said, the scroll, every single person on that scroll feels the same kind of connection to this program in that way. And I think we hopefully see that same connection come from our female student athletes after they graduate and go on to do amazing things wherever that may be.
Boy, I don't know if we could have written a movie script that was more perfect than that origin story for where this all started.
Yeah.
I think that's just absolutely outstanding. Women in Flight Director Alexis Cross joining us. GoDucks.com/Title9 for more info. If you're ever curious for just Women in Flight in general, GoDucks.com/Women in Flight will take you, and you'll learn everything that you want to know. What did we miss? I mean, is there anything else that you want to put out there into the void, if you will?
Joey, I think we should tell them what the goals are.
I agree.
It's a big deal, and I think it's exciting, and I know we were talking about it being a secret, but I think we should tell them.
All right. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so just to provide some background. So Women in Flight, since the inception of our program, has raised around $7 million for women's athletics. That's an amazing number.
It is.
To start with. Like, that's huge. Again, we launched in 2014. So on an annual basis, we kind of have two ways our funds are distributed, but I would say average, we're about $500,000 a year. Great. Amazing. So could not happen without the amazing community that we have. Now, in honor of the 50th anniversary of Title IX, I told you we're going big. Joey, we are going to raise and I say going to because we're going to, $9 million for women's athletics.
That's awesome.
So crazy. And I'm really excited to report we are actually halfway there.
Really?
We are.
Before you even get rolling.
Before we get rolling. But that, it's all to be said, we are going to need every dollar, every support level we can find in order to get there. But we talk about making a splash for the University of Oregon and for women's athletics on a national scale, and I think we're going to do it.
Man, outstanding. More details, goducks.com/Title9, like the Roman numeral Title 9. Alexis Cross, here's to that next chapter for Women in Flight, and thanks for what you do. It's great to have you back in the studio, and we'll be checking in on the campaign. So what? Maybe I need to ask that question.
Okay.
Is your end date June 23rd, like on the 50th anniversary? What's the timeline here?
We will have some celebrations along the way. So we will have a National Girls and Women in Sports Day I mentioned that will be really dedicated to our community and super fun. And then we'll also have a pretty substantial Women in Flight event around that 50th anniversary. The campaign actually closes at the end of calendar year 2022.
Got it.
So December. Most of that celebration will happen around that 50th anniversary, though.
Okay. Sounds good. June 23rd, 2022, the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And here's to turning that next page for Women in Flight. Hey, thanks for doing anything.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Alexis Cross, the director of Women in Flight, kind enough to join us. Give us details one more time. goducks.com/Title9.
There you go. Great job by Joey talking with Alexis. She is wonderful, outstanding young woman, and just doing great things. And by the way, the fundraising goal again, $9 million fundraising goal. And through the generosity of donors and friends already, they're over halfway. Halfway to reaching the lofty goal. Gifts of all sizes are important as we come together to raise funds to support Oregon women's athletic programs through scholarships, facility enhancements, community building, and more. And you've seen the growth in the last decade especially, but even before that, the growth of women's sports here at the University of Oregon. It's just insanely good. Insanely good. And you look at Stanford, they do a lot. Now, they're a private institution, and they're able to have a lot more money at times, but we can do it too. We can do it too, and we're keeping pace with them. And we've had some incredible women's teams, haven't we? Oh, my gosh. Some men's teams too, but we're talking Title IX, but women's teams. And it took a while for it to happen. And, again, being a father of 4 daughters, I've been all for this for a lot of years, and I know a lot of you out there have daughters as well. And you want to make sure that they have the opportunities, and this goes a long way to doing it. All right, we'll take a break. As here in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider. Terry John's in for Joey Mack, down with Oregon men's basketball taking on UCLA tonight. And we'll finish part 1 of Kevin McKenna from Tip-Off Tuesday. We didn't get to finish it yesterday, and we got a part 2. It's all coming up here next after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Oh, I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high.
Drive high. Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Duck Insider here in the Country Financial Studios. Terry Johns in for Joey Mackey is down in Los Angeles. And men's basketball coming up tonight. Take it on UCLA, 6:30 tip-off. It's on ESPN. Dave Pasch and Bill Walton are going to be there. Dave, right? It's but Joey Mack's going to be there as well, and Joey's going to be giving you all the action with a 6 o'clock pregame show, a talk with head coach Dana Altman as always, and bring you all the action. And we didn't get to finish Kevin McKenna, as Joey Mack had him on tip-off Tuesday. And yesterday we played it for you because I know a lot of you don't get to see it and you're busy, you're working, but we had to cut it off yesterday because we ran out of time. But we'll finish part one, and then we got part two coming up. But here's where we left off with assistant coach Kevin McKenna.
Richardson, I wanted to ask you about a guy who I think was asked to be a leader this year, and rightfully so because he's the most veteran guy in an Oregon uniform. And, Coach, he just played in his 100th Oregon game last night. You don't see that around college basketball near as much as we used to, but that's pretty impressive. Will Richardson's career and still a lot in front of him this season.
Yeah, he's he's been bothered a little bit by some injuries and again, just lack of playing with some of the guys we're playing with. Will knows what's going on out there defensively, offensively. He knows the offense really well. He knows our defenses and he's helping guys out, telling them where to be. He's he had a good game last night and coming off the pause that we had, was pretty proud of his effort for sure.
It's interesting. People like me, Coach, I look at a lot of the metrics like you guys do, and team is 6-0 when Will Richardson scores 17 points. I mean, just is that a number where it's just, man, if he's scoring at that high of a clip, you guys are just tough to beat?
My thing with Will is I encourage him to be aggressive. I know, there's a couple times last night, Will's shooting the ball really well off the dribble, even threes when guys go under that screen. And he passed up a couple opportunities, and I pulled him aside during a timeout. I said, "Hey, Will, you got to let that go. If that guy goes under, he goes, yeah, the one. He goes, I just didn't have the ball right in my hands." I said, "I get it." I said, "But look for that. If they start going under those things, I want you to let it go. He's 40-some% three-point shooter. We need him to be aggressive, looking for threes."
Will Richardson, as a sophomore, led the Pac-12 in three-point field goal percentage, and yeah, I mean. He's been really, really great from three. But I feel like, Coach, how much of that is because he's selective? I've had this conversation with Coach Altman in the past. It seems like Will Richardson is one of those selective shooters that you probably like as a coach.
Yeah, he is. I'd like him to be a little more aggressive. I think he passes some up here and there. I just tell him, I said, "Will, we might not get a better shot than the one you're getting on a kickout pass or something. So you got to have your feet ready and be ready to shoot." Will's worked extremely hard on his threes. He's put a lot of time into developing that as his career's gone on. And again, I'm proud of the way he's been handling it and becoming a leader.
Sticking with the guards, Jacob Young, after last night's performance, Ducks are 6-1 when Jacob Young scores 10 or more points. I bring up these metrics, Coach, but of course, if your guards are scoring at a high clip, you guys are going to be tough to beat. But Jacob Young, I feel like a lot of times it's fueled by his defense. We've seen that in the second half, particularly against Utah. I thought we saw that a little bit last night. How much does Jacob's defense lead to his offense?
It does a lot, and Jacob's one of the fastest guys out there in all of college basketball, in my opinion. He's really fast with the ball, and in the open court, he can get by people and get to the rim and sneak us an easy basket. I've always been a believer in the team that gets the most easy baskets usually wins, and he snuck us a couple last night. We got a nice lob play against their zone in the second half, an easy basket that, in a tight game, those things really come into play.
All right, there's assistant coach Kevin McKenna. As we'll have part two here coming up momentarily. Make it Joey Mack from Los Angeles. We're efforting. Isn't that the word? We're efforting. All right, here's part two. Joey with Kevin McKenna.
5 different players in double figures. You had 2 players with double-doubles last night. Was last night the best example we've seen so far of kind of the way that you guys can spread the wealth offensively?
Yeah, I think it shows the balance of our team. I think it shows that different guys can step up in different situations and different nights. And again, we just got to believe in each other. And, our motto, sometimes you, sometimes me, always us, kind of comes into play a lot with this group. And a lot of guys, that we got 5 or 6 guys that are capable of going for 20 in a night. And sometimes it's going to be somebody's night. And, last night Eric had a good game. Dante had a good game. I mean, inside, Dante, when he wasn't getting it, flicked from him and stolen on a couple of times, made some really good plays inside. But for the most part, we do have a good balanced team, and we just got to keep working.
Positivity on offense. How about defense, Coach? What's the next step defensively for this team?
Again, eliminating some easy baskets. At the end of the game there, we had a major breakdown there and gave up that open layup that they missed. But fighting the dribble a little harder, being a little better position off the ball, just taking away some gaps to drive, just little things that add up to easy scoring opportunities for our opponents. We've got to figure out a way to just eliminate 2 or 3 easy ones a game and not put guys, good free throw shooters on the line as well. Those are things that are really been hurting us.
Talking about some of the easy buckets, Coach, baseline out of bounds defense, I felt like there were a few buckets that the Beavers had that you guys maybe would like back after you looked at them on film. But what's the key to getting better at some of that defense?
Well, I think, we've got to, we're going to spend some time on that these next couple of days, because obviously teams are going to see that and say, oh, we can do this. They got an easy one. They got an easy one here. We've just got to understand our coverages better and move a little bit more. Seems like we're not moving until the ball is inbounded instead of moving as the pass is coming in, and it's costing us some, they're getting some easy baskets. They got an easy corner 3. They got some other stuff inside. They just kind of pushed us around in there, and we've got to hold our ground better and do a better job of position defense and understanding where your areas are in our zone.
Trip to Los Angeles. What does it do for you guys as a coaching staff and scouting and preparing, having that pause that kind of interrupts everything, and then playing a game on a Monday? It's a little bit of an odd schedule, Coach. Just let fans inside kind of the preparation process. How does things change with a little tighter preparation window now for a Thursday tip-off?
Well, last week I was able to catch up on UCLA, so I'm kind of ready already for them. I've been watching them a little bit more this morning with the Cal game and that, but it is what it is. The players, I don't think it affects them at all. They love to play in the games and obviously playing 2 really good opponents on the road. If you can't get fired up for that, you might as well just go home and not play this game. I think our guys will be excited and look forward to the challenge of playing 2 really good teams on the road.
Thursday at 6:30, 6 o'clock pregame show here on the Oregon Sports Network. ESPN's going to be in town. K-Mac, the rumor is that it's going to be Dave Pasch and Bill Walton. I mean, but would you have it any other way when Oregon plays UCLA these days?
Oh, that's always a good thing to have Bill around. Dave's a great guy, too. Those guys do a good job. They ham it up pretty good and have a good time. And I like listening to him. Bill's from my era playing and that, and I've known him for a long time. And gets a little goofy out there sometimes, but in a good way. I think he's a smart guy, and he loves college basketball, and he's awesome to our players. I can't say enough good things about him, the way he treats our guys. Yeah. And I always have to remind our guys, hey, guy, I point to him all the time when he's at our shoot-arounds. I said, see that guy over there? He's arguably the best college basketball player of all time. And they look at me like I'm nuts. I'm like, oh, I'm serious. He was phenomenal when he was in college, and he was a great pro as well till he got those injuries.
No doubt. And, man, I every time I get the chance to catch up with Bill Walton, it's always a great time. But, K-Mac, I've said this before, if the world as a whole was half as curious as Bill Walton, we would all be in a much better world, don't you think?
Yeah, we'd be on another planet too, I think, sometimes. But that's a whole nother story. Bill's awesome. He's a well-rounded person, culturally, musically, all the stuff that he's got going in his life is and he's just a positive guy. I like being around him because he brings out the best in people, and he's always got time for people. That's another quality that he has that a lot of guys don't really pay attention to, but it's important to him, you can tell.
Yeah, man, I agree. Kevin McKenna, a few more minutes with the assistant coach here for the Ducks. What's the scouting report on UCLA as you break them down for that Thursday tip-off? And then if we could look ahead a little bit, the 8 o'clock tip on Saturday, what's the report on USC this year, Coach?
Well, UCLA got everybody back from last year, and they've added a couple guys. They're playing really well. They're connected. They went on that run last year. They were, third or fourth best team in our league, made it to the Final Four, and on the ropes in the Pac-12 tournament, on the ropes in the NCAA tournament, in the play-in game, and they just gained a lot of confidence from the run that they had last year, and they got a good point guard who's improved his game. All their guys are better this year than they were last year, and you know, statistically, and you know, you can just tell that they're well coached. They're going to be a tough out, and obviously USC, we had problems with them last year, and a big part of that was Evan Mobley, obviously, but they have a lot of guys back too, and a good core of guys that have played really well. They've added a couple of new guys. Point guard Boogie Ellis is a really good player. So and Evan's brother Isaiah is back and having a better year. So, you know, 2 tough games this weekend. Again, like I said, I hope our guys are up for the challenge.
I'm looking forward to it. Kevin McKenna, Oregon assistant coach. Coach, thanks so much for always taking the time. I can't thank you enough for your insight, and we're having a little bit of fun talking about Bill Walton. Anytime we get a chance to do that, it's a good day. Thanks, Coach, and hey, we'll see you on the tarmac tomorrow, huh?
Got it. See you, Joey.
There you go, Joey Mack with assistant coach Kevin McKenna, who is a great guy, great interview, and good stuff there. And we're going to find out a little bit more. He can't get away from us. He thought he did. He thought he escaped, but he didn't. Joey Mack coming up next. There he is, waving there. Joey Mack from Los Angeles. We'll talk with Joey, break it down for us. UCLA tonight, USC on Saturday night. That's next here on Duck Insider after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece. And it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Duck Insider here in the Country Financial Studios. Terry Johns in for Joey Mack will be joining us here in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you about men's tennis. The match against UC Santa Barbara, initially scheduled for Monday, January 17th, has been postponed because of COVID-19 protocols within the Santa Barbara program. Every effort will be made to reschedule the match, and the rescheduled date will be announced when finalized. As a result, Ducks will now host Portland State for a doubleheader on Monday at noon and 5 p.m. And that is at the Tennis Center, correct? Yep, here in Eugene. Then Saturday they have Boise State and Weber State men's tennis. And there's women's tennis, there's track and field. We'll talk about that. Joey Mack joining us from Los Angeles, and you've got the number 3 UCLA Bruins here tonight. Joey, first of all, you just got back from shoot-around. What's the vibe of the team?
I think the vibe's actually really good. The team was bouncing around at shoot-around quite a bit, which is what you want to see, right? I mean,
Coach Altman always uses the phrase swing away for games like this. Always wants the guys to swing away, but particularly in a matchup with the number 3 team in the country, I think swing away is very apt, particularly because UCLA's got 4 guys that are averaging well into double figures, and then it really drops off after that. Their 5th leading score is at 6.7 points per game, and a lot of those guys are in the backcourt. It's one of the best backcourts in the country, but I think that Oregon's backcourt has really shown that they can play a much higher level than they were earlier in the season. Guys like Jacob Young, Will Richardson, and then Eric Williams, I think, has really turned a corner. Davion Harmon as well. I think that this is going to be a really interesting matchup of a couple really good backcourts. But Oregon certainly coming into it, they're going to be the underdog, particularly at Pauley Pavilion. Now, it is a little bit different. Only student-athlete families will be in attendance along with the teams. And I feel like maybe that helps Oregon, right? It's not the home court advantage at Pauley Pavilion for the number 3 team in the country. It's not going to have that same environment. It's going to be kind of sterile. Unfortunately, Terry, you and I, we're used to this, right? And I actually talked with both Dana Altman and assistant coach Mike Menninga for the pregame show tonight because it's a little longer pregame show with the ESPN 6:40 official scheduled tip-off. So I figured, well, we'll talk to 2 coaches. People would rather hear from the coaches than hear from me, that's for sure. So, I talking with him, though, Coach Menninga was like, yeah, unfortunately, we are used to this. But it does create some communication, 1, challenges, but then 2, it makes it a little easier. It's just depending on which end of the floor you're at and if you're on offense or if you're on defense. So I don't know. Maybe it'll end up not mattering, but I do feel like that's actually an advantage for the Ducks. It's not as much of a home court at Pauley Pavilion. So all in all, I think that the vibe was good. It's going to take a really, really strong effort from the Ducks backcourt, and not just scoring the basketball, but I think forcing a few turnovers like they've done with Jacob Young in particular. And then we all know that Coach Altman's going to say rebound the basketball. And the Ducks are going to have to do that because as UCLA is not a team that you want to give second chances to, particularly because they just don't make a lot of mistakes. They're a veteran team, and that's probably why it's a big reason why at least they're number 3 in the country.
What did it do for the team? I mean, one, you're beating your in-state rival Oregon State on the road at their place. There were fans actually then. And in the fashion that they did with an Eric Williams 3 near the end and getting that win. And sometimes that can just vault teams. They're already starting to come a little bit. You can see the Dana Altman effect as they're growing. But that might vault them even more?
I think so. I mean, and I really think that it goes back to the second half against Utah. At halftime, I felt like Oregon wasn't playing their best basketball. Then they really turned the corner in the second half, generated some turnovers, particularly Jacob Young, got out in transition, showed the athleticism, because Oregon is one of the most athletic teams in the conference. And so using that athleticism in their style of play, I think really helps. So I felt like that was where maybe the corner got turned a little bit, particularly even for an Eric Williams, right? I mean, I think that it felt like Jacob Young really turned the corner the last couple of weeks. He scored 10 plus in the last few games, and the Ducks are 6-1 when Jacob Young scores 10 or more points. So him turning that corner, then Eric Williams, the way that he played against Oregon State, hitting that shot that you mentioned to break the 74-74 tie, ultimately big reason why the Ducks won the game. That turned him around that corner. Maybe this is when like a Quincy Guerrier or a Davion Harmon turns the corner in this game against UCLA. But you're right. I mean, beating the in-state rival, I felt like that was a big turn. Now, the thing that was interesting, though, Terry, coming into that game, remember, it was supposed to be played on Saturday, ended up getting played on Monday because of the COVID protocol within the Ducks program. So I was really curious leading into the game at Gill Coliseum, would Oregon be able to continue that momentum like they had against Utah? Would that have carried over? Because they didn't really practice, at least not the whole team. The whole team didn't practice together actually at all before the Oregon State game. In fact, Coach Altman said that they were full strength day of the game. So just to put that in perspective for everybody, that meant that they had a bunch of momentum after the Utah game, then didn't get to practice to build on that momentum. Then they end up winning the game against Oregon State, and they kind of had to find a way to win. They still allowed the Beavers to shoot 54% from the field, and the Beavers have 3 wins this year. So, I feel like they just had to kind of find a way to win. And that was actually my question to Coach Altman this week and today when we talked for our pregame show that you'll hear at 6 o'clock tonight. Hey, Coach, like it was an odd week. You didn't get a lot of preparation going into Oregon State. Then you also had a game on Monday, couldn't really do much on Tuesday because it's the day after a game. And then Wednesday they practiced, but it was a travel day yesterday. And then they have shoot around today. I mean, it's the time of year, especially when you play that third game in the week, it really compresses your schedule. So all in all, I feel like Oregon has some momentum. I just hope they've had enough practice time to be able to build on it. And that's where I think a quick start against UCLA could really help. And normally I'd say on the road, that's always the key, kind of take the crowd out of it. No crowd, so I feel like if Oregon plays with that physicality and they can get a good start early, that's, I think, what it's going to take for Oregon to win this game.
One last one for you, Joey, before I let you go, as we're getting short of time here. But, we get to know the coaches, and we know what they really are thinking sometimes. How are they doing? What do they think about this team? What's your vibe with the coaches?
I think the coaches know that this is a squad that was still picked top 10, top 15 in the country because of all of the accomplishments of the individuals at previous places, right? The Ducks don't have a ton of returners, at least returners who have played significant minutes, but they added guys like Harmon, like Young, like Guerrier, to name a few. And I think the coaches, that's kind of what they've been preaching, like, hey, we can still get better. If we still play with that physicality, if we communicate better on defense, the offense has started to come around. If the Ducks do those things, among others, but I think those are the biggest, I think the coaches know this is still a very talented team. And that's what at least I keep thinking about talking with the coaches is they are still a very talented team, but now they have to show it. I mean, like, let's not mince words here. The Ducks are going to have to show it against either the number 3 team in the country tonight or the number 5 team in the country Saturday evening against USC. Physicality is going to be a key. I think that the coaches just want more in that regard, right? They want more physicality from this bunch. And this is a team in UCLA that I think they may have the most physical backcourt in the country, probably for sure in the conference. Ducks are going to have to show that physicality here tonight.
All right. He's Joey Mack, voice of Oregon men's basketball, 6 o'clock pregame show, and including a conversation with head coach Dane Altman. Thanks, Joey, and have a good game. Get a win.
Thanks, TJ.
All right, Joey Mack down in Los Angeles. As we wrap up the show, the men, again, as Joey mentioned, Saturday night will be at the Galen Center, USC. The women's basketball team, 2:30, Arizona, number 7 ranked. And at Matthew Knight Arena, 2 o'clock pregame show on the Oregon Sports Network. Big Monday, UConn, number 10 in town. It's UConn, all right? Enough said. 2 o'clock. Tip-off 1:30 pregame show. Men's tennis, we told you about that. Some cancellations. Women's tennis, track and field. See you tomorrow.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of